The rain hammered against the windows of my small Seattle apartment, each drop a painful echo of the storm raging inside me. Alistair, a 44-year-old software engineer, had always considered myself a logical man, a man of systems and solutions. But logic had no place in the chaotic mess my life had become. It all started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Bronwyn, my wife of 15 years, a vibrant and passionate architect, had begun to change. Her late nights at the office became more frequent, her explanations vague, her touch less frequent. I chalked it up to the pressures of her demanding career. She was designing a new eco-friendly skyscraper downtown, a project she poured her heart and soul into. I wanted to be supportive, to give her space. I'd bring her coffee in the mornings, leave encouraging notes on the fridge, and try to make her favorite dinners, even though she'd often arrive home late, barely picking at the food before collapsing into bed exhausted. The first real red flag came in the form of a misplaced scarf. A silk scarf, a vibrant emerald green, a color Bronwyn never wore. I found it tucked between the cushions of our living room sofa. It wasn't hers. When I asked her about it, she dismissed it with a nervous laugh. "Oh, that must be one of Anya's. She left it here after book club last week." Anya was a mutual friend, but I distinctly remembered Anya wearing a blue scarf that evening. Still, I pushed the thought aside. I didn't want to be the jealous, insecure husband. I trusted Bronwyn, or at least I thought I did. Then came the phone calls. Whispered conversations abruptly ended when I entered the room. A new passcode on her phone, a device she'd always left unlocked. A growing distance between us, a coldness that chilled me to the bone. I started noticing things, small inconsistencies that gnawed at me. Lunches she claimed to have had with colleagues but which her colleagues later denied. Shopping trips she couldn't account for. Lies, subtle but persistent, like a slow poison seeping into our marriage. I tried to talk to her to bridge the gap that was widening between us. "Bronwyn, is everything okay? You seem distant." She'd brush it off, her eyes darting away from mine. "I am fine, Alistair, just stressed. This project is consuming me." I wanted to believe her. I desperately wanted to believe her. But the seed of doubt had been planted, and it was growing, festering in the darkness of my mind. One Saturday morning, Bronwyn told me she had to go into the office for a few hours to meet with the construction team. I offered to make her breakfast, but she declined, saying she was running late. As she left, I felt a pang of unease, a sense of foreboding that I couldn't shake off. I tried to distract myself, tinkering with a new coding project I'd been working on. But my mind kept drifting back to Bronwyn, to her evasiveness, to the lies. I decided to surprise her, to bring her lunch at the office. Maybe a gesture of support would help ease the tension between us. The skyscraper was still under construction, a skeletal frame against the Seattle skyline. I took the elevator up to the floor where Bronwyn's team had their temporary office. The door was slightly ajar. As I pushed it open, I heard voices. Bronwyn's voice and another deeper voice, a voice I didn't recognize. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. I took a step closer, peering through the crack in the door. What I saw shattered my world. Bronwyn was standing close to a man, a tall, handsome man with dark hair and piercing blue eyes. They were laughing, their faces close, their bodies almost touching. And then they kissed. A long, lingering kiss filled with a passion that I hadn't felt from Bronwyn in years. I stumbled back, reeling from the shock. The lunch bag I was carrying fell to the floor, the contents spilling out, a pathetic mess of sandwiches and fruit. The noise startled them. They pulled apart, their eyes widening in horror as they saw me standing there. Bronwyn's face drained of color. Alistair, the man, stepped forward, his expression a mix of defiance and guilt. "Look, this isn't what you think," but I didn't want to hear it. I couldn't bear to hear their lies, their excuses. I turned and ran blindly, desperately, away from the scene, away from the betrayal, away from the woman I thought I knew. I ended up at a small bar near the waterfront, a dimly lit, anonymous place where I could drown my sorrows in cheap whiskey. The bartender, a grizzled old man with kind eyes, listened patiently as I poured out my story, my voice cracking with emotion. He didn't offer any platitudes, any empty words of comfort. He just nodded understandingly, handing me another shot of whiskey. As the hours passed, the anger began to simmer, replaced by a deep, gnawing ache of sadness. 15 years. 15 years of love, of trust, of shared dreams, all reduced to this. A lie, a betrayal, a kiss in a construction site office. The next few days were a blur. I moved out of our apartment, taking only the bare essentials. I couldn't bear to be surrounded by her things, by the memories of our life together. I found a small, sterile apartment in a different part of the city, a place that felt empty and cold, but at least it was mine. Bronwyn tried to contact me, leaving desperate voicemails, sending pleading emails. I ignored them all. I couldn't face her. I couldn't forgive her. My best friend, Gareth, a boisterous, loyal man who had always been fiercely protective of me, was furious. That bitch, I'll kill him. He roared when I told him what had happened. I managed a weak smile. Violence won't solve anything, Gareth. Maybe not, he conceded, but it'll make me feel better. Gareth was a lawyer, a damn good one, and he offered to handle the divorce proceedings. I gratefully accepted. I didn't want to have to deal with Bronwyn directly. The divorce was messy, as divorces often are. Bronwyn tried to portray herself as the victim, claiming that I was emotionally unavailable, that I had neglected her needs. But Gareth was relentless, exposing her lies, presenting the evidence of her affair. The truth eventually prevailed. I got the apartment, the car, and a fair share of our assets. It wasn't about the money. It was about justice, about holding her accountable for her actions. As the divorce proceedings dragged on, I learned more about Bronwyn's affair. The man she had been seeing was named Kian, a project manager on the skyscraper construction team. He was younger than me, more charismatic, more exciting. According to mutual friends, their affair had been going on for months, right under my nose. I felt like a fool, a naive, trusting fool who had been blind to the truth. The anger returned, stronger than ever. I wanted to lash out, to hurt them both, to make them feel the pain that I was feeling. But I knew that revenge wouldn't bring me any peace. It wouldn't undo the betrayal. It wouldn't erase the memories. I decided to focus on myself, on healing, on rebuilding my life. I threw myself into my work, spending long hours coding, creating, losing myself in the intricate logic of software. I started exercising again, running along the waterfront, feeling the wind in my hair, the sun on my face. I reconnected with old friends, people I had neglected during my marriage. I started taking art classes, something I had always wanted to do but never had the time for. Slowly, gradually, the pain began to subside. The raw, gaping wound in my heart began to heal, leaving behind a scar, a reminder of what had happened, but also a testament to my resilience. One evening, a few months after the divorce was finalized, I received a phone call from an unknown number. I hesitated before answering it. "Hello, Alistair, it's Bronwyn." Her voice was weak, trembling. I almost hung up, but something compelled me to listen. "What do you want, Bronwyn?" I need your help. My help after what you did to me. I know I hurt you, Alistair. I know I made a terrible mistake, but I am in trouble." "What kind of trouble?" She hesitated, then spoke in a low, hurried voice. "Kian's not who I thought he was." "What do you mean?" "Hesh is involved in something illegal, something dangerous, and now I am caught up in it." My first instinct was to hang up, to tell her that she deserved whatever was happening to her. But then I remembered the Bronwyn I had loved, the woman who had been kind, compassionate, and intelligent, the woman who had been lost, misguided, but not inherently evil. "Tell me everything," I said. She told me a story of corruption, of bribery, of shady deals involving the skyscraper project. Kian, it turned out, was not just a project manager. He was a fixer, a conduit for illegal funds, a pawn in a much larger game. Bronwyn had stumbled upon some incriminating documents, and now Kian was threatening her, trying to silence her. I listened in silence, my mind racing. I didn't trust Bronwyn completely. She had lied to me before, but something in her voice told me that she was telling the truth this time, and I couldn't just abandon her, not when she was in danger. "Where are you?" I asked. She gave me an address, a rundown motel on the outskirts of the city. "Stay there, don't go anywhere. I'll be there as soon as I can." I called Gareth, told him what was happening, and asked for his help. He didn't hesitate. "I'll meet you there," he said, "and I am bringing backup." When I arrived at the motel, I found Bronwyn huddled in a corner of the room, her face pale, her eyes wide with fear. I held her close, trying to reassure her. "It's going to be okay, Bronwyn, I am here." Gareth arrived a few minutes later, accompanied by two police officers. He had already contacted the authorities, and they were ready to investigate Kian and his illegal activities. Bronwyn told the police everything she knew, providing them with the documents she had found. Kian was arrested later that day, along with several other individuals involved in the corruption scheme. Bronwyn was given immunity in exchange for her testimony. As she stood there facing me, I knew that I couldn't hate her anymore. I could see the remorse in her eyes, the genuine regret for the pain she had caused. She had made a terrible mistake, but she had also shown courage in coming forward and exposing the truth. "Thank you, Alistair," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I don't deserve your help, but I am so grateful." I nodded, unable to speak. I knew that I could never forgive her completely. The betrayal had been too deep, the wound too profound. But I could offer her a measure of compassion, a chance to rebuild her life. "Take care of yourself, Bronwyn," I said, "and try to make better choices in the future." I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there alone in the rain. As I drove home, I felt a sense of closure, a sense of peace that I hadn't felt in a long time. I had faced the betrayal, I had survived the heartbreak, and I had emerged stronger, wiser, and more resilient. The rain had stopped, and the sun was beginning to peek through the clouds, casting a golden glow on the Seattle skyline. I knew that the road ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But I also knew that I was capable of overcoming anything, that I had the strength and the resilience to create a new life for myself, a life filled with love, with trust, and with happiness. The scars of the past would always be there, a reminder of the pain I had endured. But they would also be a reminder of the strength I had found within myself, the strength to forgive, to move on, and to embrace the future with hope and optimism. I learned that true love isn't just about grand gestures or passionate moments. It's about unwavering loyalty, honesty, and mutual respect. When those foundations crumble, the entire structure collapses, leaving behind only shattered dreams and a profound sense of loss. I also learned that forgiveness isn't about condoning the actions of others, but about freeing yourself from the burden of anger and resentment. It's about choosing to move forward, to heal, and to create a new chapter in your life, one that is defined by your own strength and resilience. In the end, it wasn't revenge that brought me peace, but the realization that I was worthy of love, of trust, and of happiness, and that I had the power to create that life for myself, regardless of the choices of others.